Welcome to the Pimp My Setup highlights for episode number 122. The first setup was submitted by Onder.
The whole security camera thing, yeah, it's nice to have your security cameras visible, but just kind of sitting off to the side in the photo, I don't know how I feel about that.
Plus, I mean, in terms of usability, it's a big ass printer right there. How can you really see the security camera without having to, if you're sitting at your desk, you can't see it because of your computer. The right side of the photo is a complete mess, to say the least. I do think the PC needs to go under your desk. If it doesn't fit where your subwoofer is, then you got to put it to the side of the desk on the left. This kind of desk, I don't like it because it constrains you to have a certain height. It's kind of like a full box around your setup. So I always say to people that that's not the best because you don't have freedom. If you want to get another monitor, wouldn't really work. Underscore to 65. The next setup was submitted by Lewis.
Definitely getting by with what he has. Doesn't have his own job, I'm guessing. He's probably pretty limited by what he can do to his room based off what his mom says.
It just gives me a weird vibe. Like, whoever thought of putting the mirror there? And then the left side's completely empty and there's like nothing going on there. So I think if anything, the TV should go where the mirror is, right up above, and it would make a little bit more sense. Lewis scored a 57. The next setup was submitted by Manny. For me personally, it's a little overwhelming. I mean, your Blue Yeti is being held by a panda, and like you have a panda overlooking you at your monitors and a panda in every section of your room.
Props to putting the PC up on a board. That's all you have to do a lot of times to get it off the carpet. The mouse pad on top of the mouse pad. Now, I know it's going to sound a little contradictory because I actually run a Razer Vespula on top of an XXL Glorious PC Master Race pad. But I'm running a very specific mouse pad that's large on top of a massive gaming mat. That's a pretty small mouse pad he has there.
Overall, really, really nice setup. Manny scored a 76. The next setup was submitted by Peter. I see what he's going through, and this is how a lot of like old, because it's an old school desk, you know, a lot of old school stuff. Everything looks pretty much like a Staples pickup. I think the definition of the setup is cluttered.
Power strip wise, this dude's gonna blow a breaker or something.
I like that corkboard. I think that's really awesome, but I don't think people really like notice that it's even there because of all the stuff going on. So I think if he was to simplify, I mean, clean out this room completely, probably get new furniture altogether, simple desk, have you know, the wall really nicely designed with the cork board and all the other frames that he has, that would really emphasize that, which I think is what makes this setup unique. Peter scored a 42. The next setup was submitted by Mike. When I first saw the subject for the email, it said minimalist and perfectionist setup. I was expecting not this. If you were to cancel out everything other than the monitors and everything on the desk, I would be like, yeah, that's a very minimalistic, straight to the point setup. But with the way I see everything to the left, to the right, and above, I'm like, whoa, that's not minimalistic. That's overkill. And people are going to say I'm a dick. But first off, we're nitpicking. Because like I said, everything on the desk is perfect. But there's a difference when you claim to be a minimal kind of setup and it's not close to that. Mike scored a 72. The next setup was submitted by Mark.
Very well cable managed. This guy did a good job with that. Now, I know some people would say, you know, drill the hole and put the keyboard and the mouse cable through it, but on a black desk like that, you honestly don't see them that much anyways. They blend in pretty well.
Wish there were some LEDs in that case, not gonna lie. For a guy that seems to care about LEDs, I was a little upset with that. Speakers I also thought were a bit weird. I would like to see to the left and to the right of the monitors. Mark scored an 86. The next setup was submitted by FJ. It's hard, I get it. You can't put your speakers in a spot where they're going to be perfect for listening, but I hate when people put their speakers in between their monitors.
Those are, I believe, the Logitech Z200 speakers. I would take those, and you can actually take the stands and stuff off of them and maybe just lay them sideways below the monitors.
Now, call me crazy, but maybe you don't even need those two other displays. I don't know what it is that you do other than game. If you do game, I can understand needing like a secondary display just for, you know, having everything else open while you're playing full screen on the one display. I don't know, it's hard because I see what you're trying to do. Overall, I do really like this setup. FJ scored an 82. The next setup was submitted by Yarik. This is like under the bed. He's obviously limited on space because of that, and I think he does an okay job at that. And also, I think the shelf is just weird. It's like you don't need that shelf. I think your monitor should be, if anything, mounted. I don't even know if that's a VESA monitor, but I would would mount that on the wall, free up the space. The speakers are so small and they probably weigh close to nothing. And if you could just adhere them to the wall, that would be nice, so that they're just kind of sticking, and then you get some wire mold. Like, you could even run the cable behind the monitor so that you only have one thing of wire mold coming out, all the display connectors with all the speaker cables. Yarik scored 55. The next setup was submitted by Brian. These setups always confuse me because it's such an easy fix.
It looks like a power line adapter, and flipping it the other way around so that cable's not coming out the top. And if you have to plug it in that way because that's the way the outlet is. Pretty much all those outlets, if you take the faceplate, take 2 screws out, you can actually flip them around and put them back in.
But if you center that Samsung display and you want to use that other Samsung display as a secondary monitor, make it match up. You gotta play with the stand a little. It will actually match up. Push the monitors as far back as possible so that they're up against the wall, because you don't have a lot of depth. And then really just it comes down to placement for a lot of these things. Brian scored a 53. The final setup was submitted by Dylan. This desk does not work for a setup.
Unless he's using all of that space and has all the drawers and everything filled, I would just get just a regular corner desk. If you want to display your Phantom, get a little shelf to display it on.
Dylan scored a 51. Mark walked away with first place with an 86. Thanks for watching the Pin My Setup highlights for episode number 122.